let's help identify your pain when it comes to your plantar fasciitis, because yes, we know what the plantar fascia is, we know where it's located, we know its purpose and what it does. However, what if it's not your plantar fascia? What if it's other things? So let's help identify what are some of the possibilities of what it could be. So let's say, for instance, that you experience extreme heel pain when you walk. Now, sometimes that could mean a bone spur. And I know that that's not what you want to hear. And I will tell you that if you can avoid needing surgery on a bone spur, I wouldn't do it. If I could hold off and not have surgery, that would be my personal route. So if this hasn't been happening hopefully this hasn't been going on for too long, you have a really good, even if you do have strong heel pain, you have a really good chance that if you remove the tension, then even if you were starting to get a bone spur, that it would take care of itself. So a bone spur occurs because there's so much constant tension in an area that the bone starts to grow to try to relieve that tension. So your body's just trying to protect itself. Your body's trying to help you out, throw you a rope here. However, that rope happens to be incredibly painful to walk on. So if you can do some of the exercises through here and help to relieve some of that tension that's on that bone spur, then you're going to see that the bone spur, if it doesn't need to be there, it won't be there. And so does it take time? Yes. Can a bone spur just magically go away? No. But you can, if this hasn't been going on for too long, you can go ahead and get yourself moving in the right direction and try to do everything that you can to avoid the surgery. Again, only because personally, if they go in and they have to shave that down, then the likelihood is that it will come back. And so if you can do anything that you can naturally, I'm a original set of parts kind of gal. Your original parts are always going to work better when they haven't been messed with. So it can be a bone spur if you've got that severe pain that's going on in the heel. Now let's take it to the other end. Let's say, for instance, that it's on the ball of your foot. So think of your patella, okay? So the patella for your knee, let's say if this is the groove of the femur, and my nail, okay, is the patella. You've got this nice groove here. That bone, it's called a sesamoid bone. You have another one that's actually in the ball of your foot. So if you're experiencing strong pain in the ball of your foot, that's actually one of the areas that sometimes when doctors are looking at the foot and they'll just blow it off as, oh, it's plantar fasciitis. And then they don't necessarily pay attention to or realize that there's an issue going on with that sesamoid bone or it's not gliding smoothly. The best thing that you can do is actually to immobilize that portion of the foot. So people will buy essentially a slate that goes inside their shoe. So it's a shoe insert that helps keep it still and stiff. A lot of people's feet are not going to like that. But if you are experiencing this particular issue, getting a shoe insert like that is going to be super helpful. So you can even test it out. Like maybe you don't have a physician that's, pulled that as one of the items. It's not in the deck of cards. Then maybe that's something that you could possibly take a look at. Like if you notice that your feet feel better in a stiffer shoe and your pain is happening more towards the ball of your foot, that might be something to look into for sure. And then another thing is going to be an ankle injury. So even though the plantar fascia and the ankle, they're not necessarily attached. They're obviously pretty close together. However, if you have, let's say that you've been a person that has rolled their ankle over and over and over again. Heck, even one time, like one really bad one, can create issues. But if your foot doesn't have the availability to evert, okay, we talked about that movement in the movement evaluation. If you don't have that eversion, then you're not necessarily getting full function of your foot as a whole. And so even though the plantar fascia, we're more looking at the arch of your foot, and the forefoot, we're looking at the pronation and the supination. That pronation, eversion still has to happen. And so if you're pronating but not everting, then you're losing some of the goods when it comes to that movement. So paying attention to a few different things that are happening on that lower portion of your body is going to be important for making sure that let's put all these things in line, and then that way we know what's going on with the pain that you're experiencing.